It's going to be a quick episode just to show you how to make this marble effect. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Welcome back to Crafted by Metamorphic Customs, and this week we have a short video here for a marbling effect tutorial. You're going to start off with a piece of styrene plastic here, and I'm tracing the diamond-shaped Hot Toys base because that's the shape I want to make here. But you could be any shape. In fact, it could be the entire bottom of a detolf shelf or a Majike's shelf or any shape you want really. And it doesn't even have to be a flat piece of styrene. It could be a curved piece of plastic. You can even do this on a figure's armor or boot or whatever surface you want to apply this texture to. It should work, but of course it's going to be easier on a flatter or curved surface. I'm going to use my Tamiya scriber here to cut out the shape that I've traced out from the styrene plastic. Always use a metal ruler for this and give it a few passes. Don't try to cut it out in one pass, especially if you decided to use a thicker piece of styrene. And just present it here on the Hot Toys base because that's the shape I'm cutting out. I want to make sure it's the right size. And we're ready to move on to the paint stage. I have some satin black here from Krylon, but it can be any brand of spray paint as long as it's good for plastics. I went outside, spray painted this because I don't want to do this in my workshop. And next I'm going to use the secret material here that's not so secret. This is a used dryer sheet. Not a new dryer sheet, but a dryer sheet that's gone through the actual dryer. And I'm going to try to separate the fibers a little bit to create irregularities in the dryer sheet. That'll help with the marbling effect. I'm not trying to actually create complete through holes, just some, again, irregularities in the paper. And I'm actually using two sheets in order to cover the entire piece of plastic that I've cut out. And I'm going to lay out the dryer sheets on one side of the plastic I've cut out because I'm going to try a slightly different technique on either side, but we'll start off with one at a time, one side at a time. And I'll use some painter's delicate surface tape on this just so that I don't pull off any of the black paint I've put on the plastic. And the only reason I'm doing this is just to hold down the dryer sheet so that I can make it a little easier on myself on the other end there. And this is the side I'll be painting first. I'm going to apply some flat white spray paint. Again, doesn't have to be Krylon, just the one I had on hand. And I'm also going to use an airbrush on the other side. But for now, let's hit it with some rattle can white and let's see what we got here. Again, I did this outside. I didn't want to do this in my workshop here because of the fumes. But you get the idea. It's just spray painting it white, like you would spray paint anything. Remember to read the directions on the rattle can. If you're not used to using spray paint or rattle cans, you're going to have to hold it a certain distance from the object you're trying to paint, usually to 10 to 12 inches. Give it some light coats. You're going to follow the same principle here. Let's see what we got on the other side. The moment of truth. Not too bad. Take a look at the pattern here. It gives that almost cloudy marbling, as I mentioned, or a cloudy, even galaxy nebula effect. You've got that black streak down the middle because that's where the two dryer sheets combine, but I kind of like that. It gives us, again, an irregularity to the whole thing that might be present in an actual slab of marble. Let's go ahead and let's do the other side. We did the first side with a rattle can. Let's try this one with an airbrush. I'm going to use some Vallejo gray here. It's a mecha color. It was a light gray, but any gray, light gray will do here. And I'm just going to apply it just like pretty much how I did the rattle can. I have a preference of using airbrush. The reason I'm using two different techniques is just to show you that you can do it with a rattle can. I know not everyone has an airbrush, so you can get up to this point here, just a rattle can. And now, as you see, I'm using the airbrush. And you're going to see the difference here as soon as the second moment of truth occurs. And I'm gently pulling this tape, even though I'm using delicate surface tape or tape for delicate surfaces. I'm pulling it gently. I don't want to rip off any of that paint that's there. Alright, and that's the difference there. See, this is more of a kind of a subdued effect, a lighter effect. I kind of like this one better, but the rattle can version works well. And I'm going to take it a little further. You can stop here if you'd like, but I'm going to take a little further. I'm going to use some black FW ink here with my airbrush. So for this one, yeah, you do need an airbrush if you want to go beyond this point. But I'm just giving it some more, I wouldn't say detail, but just give some more depth by darkening up the edges here and maybe going in between where that irregularity, as I like to call it, is. And just highlighting that with or the lack of highlighting, giving it some shadow with the black. And again, I want to stress that you could have definitely have stopped at the last step, right after applying the white with the rattle can or even with the airbrush. I'm doing this just to show you that you can go further, right? You can continue to give it even more depth if you want, more, make it more look a little bit more interesting still. Now I'm applying an airbrush. This is the rattle can side here. So which side you will end up liking is completely up to you. That's going to be your opinion here. But if you've got an airbrush, that means you probably have a rattle can too. You'll have an option of doing either. I'm actually going back here. This is the airbrush side. I'm applying a little bit more of the same gray color just to emphasize the gray more. And again, that shows you the control you have with an airbrush. But I also know there's a lot of people that are just complete experts with just rattle cans. So if that's your preference, hey, go with that. So you see, I implied the gray a little bit more on this airbrush side by giving it a second pass with the airbrush, doing the exact same thing. And next up, clear coat it, right? On the left, you've got a flat. On the right, you've got a gloss. Which one you use is up to you. I'm going to apply gloss to this side, which is the airbrush side. This is the gloss already applied. And you can use any brand of rattle can clear coat. This rattle can side has matte or a flat clear coat. And once it's dry, I'm going to present it on the base it was cut out for, and it looks pretty good. I like that better than that chrome reflective silver sticker it has on it from the factory. It just looks more elegant. And you can choose to take this one step further. I'm using some FW inks. This is, I believe, turquoise and a bright green there, mixing both of those together 1-to-1 and then putting a couple of drops of water in my airbrush and showing you that you can actually come back in after you've done the black, white, and gray, right? Whatever technique you use, you can come back in after you put those base colors and tint it any color you want. So I'm using this watered down ink to give it like this greenish hue, and now it becomes like a green marble effect. And you don't have to do this. It was perfectly fine just being white and black marble, right? I'm just doing this to show you that if you start with white and black, you can easily then tint it to any other color as long as, well, you have an airbrush, right? And you've got the colors that you want. I'm also coming back in. I added a couple of drops of FW ink black to that last mix in my airbrush and just coming in and darkening the edges again to create a little bit more depth in there. This is just a really fun process, I think. This is much better than going on your printer and printing out marble effect on a piece of paper. This gives you an actual piece of a substrate, of plastic, that you can put down. It has some weight to it, and it's just, again, a fun process. But more importantly, you could do this to any shape, really, as long as it's a non-porous surface. Think about doing this to the armor of your figures or even the weapons, you know, just making it look very, very different. Some good customization options.